Hi, ladies and gentlemen. According to my watch, it is exactly 1 minute after 6 o'clock, and we are going to get this started. Welcome to the 2020 Puget Sound chapter of the Project Management Institute annual business meeting. Today, it's starting Laurel Sim, and she's going to be talking to us about designing the ideal project portfolio roadmap. And she's going to be referencing her experience setting up the Olympics. If this is your first time here, welcome. If not, I hope you guys enjoy the presentation. Tonight, we're going to start with announcements and business items, and we'll get through the next 30 minutes, maybe a little bit sooner than that. And at the 6:30 or a little bit before, we'll do the keynote interactive session with question and answers with Laurel Sim on her presentation. It is my understanding Laurel will be asking for questions throughout the program, so feel free to come up with any questions you may have regarding project management, program management, and roadmaps. Our moderator, Annette, will be watching the chat feeds and looking for questions to be able to feed to Laurel during the session. At 7:45, we will have our raffle held by Dawn, and then our closing. Next slide. First, some chapter announcements. So we're convening yet again to review our finances from 2019, thank our outgoing board members, and welcome our new board members. This time around, Laurel Sim, who is a partner and vice president of portfolio management at Taleo Project Services, will be speaking. Welcome, everyone. Next slide. And now for some upcoming virtual and real-time events. The first one is a joint event held by the Puget Sound Puget Sound Project Management Institute and the Pacific Northwest Organizational Development Network, otherwise known as PNODN. This is Practical Brainstorming with Chris Cosby. The date is going to be June 19th, 2020, tomorrow. 1 to 3 p.m. and it's 2 leadership PDUs. Make sure and look down in the lower right-hand corner there at the note there. If you're going to attend, choose partner when registering and enter the code PNODN partner 2019. Also, enter your PMI member number in the occupation field. This is important. Next slide. Also coming up, the virtual PMO roundtable. Monthly meeting. In this month's meeting, we'll cover the PMO body of knowledge. Bring your suggestions of websites, blogs, consultants, vendors, podcasts, books, and like-minded PMs you turn to when questions arise. Dates is going to be June 22nd, 2020, this coming Monday. Time is going to be 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. It's a free virtual event. You do have to sign up. It fills up quick. And if it fills up, put your name down anyways, because they do have a wait list. If somebody can't make it, they'll usually add in other people. So time is 5:30 to 7 p.m., 1.5 PDUs. Free conference call link will be sent out in email beforehand, so make sure to look for that. We also send out an email that contains suggested reading prior to each meeting, and I do recommend that everybody who attends a meeting do the required reading. Go through and look at what our themes are. Also, it helps to look back at a year ago at our meeting notes to see what was covered. Next slide. All right. Intentionally promoting acceptance with projects that involve changes. This course focuses on the tools and processes needed for the project manager to understand the challenges and resistance and to proactively manage change in projects for sustainable results. The date will be June 30th, time 6 to 8 p.m., and there will be 2 PDUs for anyone who attends. Next slide. Upcoming, an event that features last month's featured speaker from our monthly chapter meeting, Puget Sound Project Management Institute and Healthcare IT Project Management Work present Health Information and Management Systems Society. Boy, lots of words. Present Healthcare IT Project Management Workshop with Benjamin Linares. He was a fantastic speaker at last month's meeting, And this time he's going to be talking about healthcare IT project management. The date is July 8th. Time is 8 to 10 a.m. and it's 1.5 PDUs. Next slide. Why volunteer? That's a good question. Here's an even better answer. Expand your network. The world is going crazy right now. A lot of people have been furloughed. A lot of people have been laid off. A lot of people are finding new opportunities. This is the time to join and participate, reach out to other people, find new opportunities. Or if you already have an opportunity, help somebody else. This is the very heart of expanding your network. It's about helping somebody in need with professional recommendation or to connect them. Jumpstart your resume. Always good, especially if you're sitting there going, what can I do to fill in some of the blank, fill in a blank gap, or to add to what I can offer. Earn PDUs towards renewing your PMP or other certification you may have earned, and learn from your peers. Next slide. And volunteers also have fun, and we do definitely want you. Please take a moment to note the email address at the bottom of your screen there, volunteers@PugetSoundPMI.org. We will teach you dance moves if you're so inclined. Otherwise, we have a number of different volunteer opportunities available. Please send an email if you're interested to that email address, and we will be in touch. Next slide. All right. For those of you who are tracking PDUs towards a renewal, your PDUs for tonight's event, it's 1.25 PDUs. We suggest mapping to the leadership talent triangle skill area. Use the activity numbers below. It's in the below format. Your year, your month, your date, dash, and then a 01. So please note, if you are a member of PSPMI and you're registered for this meeting, your PDUs will be entered automatically within 2 weeks of this meeting. All right, and now it is my pleasure to hand over presentation to Monica Petrova to discuss chapter business. Monica is our chapter president. Welcome, Monica.
Thank you, Dan, and hello, everyone. Appreciate your work, Dan, and everyone's in the chapter throughout the year. This is a moment that I would like to thank each one of you, from our members, volunteers, guests, board members. We wouldn't have been here without you. So first of all, big thank you. And it's my extreme pleasure today to go over the past year's result and share where we are, what are our goals and aspirations. And we can start first with programs. Many of you, of course, have met Mike. I have had the honor to know him in the past 4 years, and our programs portfolio has grown significantly. In this past year, you have seen different types of events. We listened to our members, we heard your suggestions, and we have brought interactive mix and learns. We had the fun October dinner, if you remember the airplane building contest. We got great feedback on that. And then we finished the year strong with the holiday party at the Fairmont Olympic Hotel. And the pictures you see are actually from that event. And then in the past 2 years, we have actually had the annual summer hike at Rattlesnake. This year, this will be on hold, but we'll definitely keep you posted when this is back. And I want to have a big shout out here for our NPPA organization. This is our non-for-profit partner alliance, which hosted 4 unique partner events and have really helped us grow our non-for-profit community and help organizations. We have 9 different partnerships and counting. Huge shout out to the programs team for creating that organization and making it grow. And during the programs, events, especially for COVID-19, as all businesses, PSPMI also had to adjust and adapt the way we reach out to you as members and how do we do events. So we actually hosted 3 really successful virtual events, and we look forward to meeting you and where you are, be on Zoom, in person, and being there for you is our primary goal. I do want to call out that programs has 28 volunteers. It's together programs and education, our strongest volunteer-based portfolios, and really, really thanks to each of the single volunteers who help us build those volunteer base and make us successful. Thank you. We can move to the next slide. And for membership and community, really proud to share that we have sustained the base of over 3,000 members throughout the last 2 years. When I first started 4 years ago as a volunteer myself, we were at 2,500. So I really appreciate each one of you continuing to be our member and sharing your suggestions with us. Something really exciting that we did this year is we launched the ambassador program. And when we say ambassador program, what we mean is we reached out to students, and also we reached out to corporations where we see the need for growing the project management as a career. The goal of the ambassador program is really also to bridge the gap between labor and talent. So as a goal for next year, we'll continue to work with more universities and we'll continue to establish our presence at more corporations. So PSPMI is considered the partner of both educational, profit, and non-for-profit organizations. We did also launch the mentorship program, partnering with Roosevelt High School. And the reason I want to feature that is this is our first partnership with high school. And along with the universities, that was something really new that we did this year. So I want to thank Bhavya Baxi, who is the lead of the membership, for kicking this off and getting our youngest volunteers who are thrilled to join the project management world. And in addition to that, we continue to shape the future, the next generation young PM professionals. And also what we're planning for 21 and the rest of this year is to really create a sustainable mentorship program for both young professionals, but also experienced professionals. So please stay in touch with us. You can always reach membership at Puget Sound PMI, and we'll keep you posted about our upcoming mentorship updates. And Bhavya is also trying to grow his team. So if you're interested in volunteering, please reach out to membership so we can tell you more about our lead positions. Thanks. And then moving to operations. This year, operations have really solidified the portfolio by establishing a new governance area. We have new updated PSPMI governance guidelines, which will be posted on the website soon. We also are working on the PSPMI bylaws and gathering the inputs from our board of directors and checking in with the PMI Global. We have established an excellent volunteer management area by also improving our volunteer selection process and making sure our formal volunteer records are always up to date, protecting the personal data. I would like to give a huge shout out to Juan Almeida, who has joined as a VP as of last year and will continue to lead us towards success in the governance and operation area in the next year. And something really exciting here is the Discipline Agile initiative. Some of you may have heard that PMI Global actually acquired Discipline Agile, and now each chapter is going to have a Discipline Agile representative, and Juan will be leading that. There's a new certification, which you may be already aware, coming from PMI Global, the Discipline Agile, which I will encourage everyone to look into. To find out more details about PMI DA, please reach out to operations at Puget Sound PMI. All right. And then moving to marketing, really thankful to have Jayanti and her team who have continued to promote broad awareness for education and events. You have seen the different PMI global logos and their new marketing strategy. We have actually applied all of that at Puget Sound PMI, and we have revamped and increased our social media presence. I'm sure you have seen our posts at Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. We love your comments and updates, so continue to stay engaged with us. Something great we have done to stay more engaged with our members is the monthly teams that launched recently as of last month. And we are very thankful to Jayanti and her team to continue to diversify the portfolio and lead us to success. And then we can actually move to the next slide. Thank you. And yeah, finance. Um, we disclose this as a public information, and it's great to see that PSPMI is actually one of the top 10 chapters, both in terms of membership and financial stability. You can see that our total assets are above $300,000, and we work with a third-party company to make sure our accounting and finance are always up to date, and we always disclose this information at our annual ABM. So thanks to our members, sponsors, and all the partnerships we have to make us exist. Next slide. Sponsorship. Big shout out to Deborah. Deborah joined us a year ago, and we have already built new sponsors. We have the Bellevue College, the Northeastern University, the 120V. Deborah has really proved that PSPMI can grow and continue to establish partnerships even in challenging times like COVID-19. And she's looking forward to working with the community for continued growth. Something different that we did this year is we're proud that we supported the Child Heaven charity for our annual holiday PSPMI event, which turned out to be a huge success, and we'll continue to support the local charities in their needs. Next slide. And for the professional development year-end report, some of you know this is our education portfolio. Huge thanks to Ronald Che and his team, Mia, Karwa, Bawa. They have done a tremendous work this year. The countless hours all of us have put in addition to our full-time jobs have been really worthy because we have seen that progress. We were able to run 2 successful PMP preparation classes, which some of you attended. We offered various workshops by listening to the needs of our members. We diversified the education portfolio. Now, this year, you are able to see strategy meetings, Scrum Master meetings, Virtual Scrum Master and MS Project workshop, salary negotiation that was held on beginning of June, the art of leading to get things done. And for all of you on the call, we do have the change management coming up on June 30th. So I'll highly recommend that coming workshop, which will be the last one for this PSPMI year before we restart in September. And in terms of cross-portfolio assistance, we have provided overall website requests. Education, technology, and marketing have worked on improving our website and really thinking about the user experience. And I really want to thank again Ronald and his team for making this a great portfolio again. Communications. I would like to shout out to Dawn and her team for supporting all of us. Communication is that part we cannot live without, and you see it in your companies as well. As Dawn put here on the slide, together everyone achieves more. Thank you, Dawn and team. And now it's a pleasure for me to say a big thank you to these outgoing board members who I had the pleasure to work in the past 2 years. These moments of the annual business meetings are always positive and also sad because we have had great experience with working with our outgoing VPs, and we would like give a big shout out to Dawn, our current VP of Communications, to Wendy Wu, our current VP of Finance, and to Mariana Hubenova, our VP of Technology. I'm clapping here virtually online. Thank you for all the work you have done, and I encourage you to continue to stay engaged with us. We'd love to have you. And now, an exciting new moment is to welcome our new board members who would step in their role on July 1st. So from July 1st, I would like you to welcome our new VP of Technology, Jackson Lam. We have Paulina Stoyanova, our new VP of Finance. Then we have Deborah continuing her second year as a VP of Sponsorship, Ronald continuing as a VP of Education, and Minal, the new VP of Communications. Please welcome them, and to be their pleasure to serve you after July 1st. Welcome on board. All right, and now it's time for me to introduce our highly accomplished PM Senior Executive Speaker, Laurel Sim. I listened to Laura's presentation, and what was really fascinating to me is how she makes her tips and advice so useful to everything she does. Laura comes all the way from Canada now, and she'll be here with you today to share how to build the ideal project portfolio. Laurel has great areas of expertise, including business improvement, implementing capital dollars, advisory services, program management, IT strategy, and quality assurance. Please, a big shout to Laurel Sim.
Well, thank you very much. Can everybody hear me okay? Hopefully somebody can hear me.
I can hear you, Laurel.
Great. I was worried that I was on the wrong site for a second. I can't tell you how excited I am to be here. And a big part of that excitement really does sit with how well your chapter is doing. This is an exciting time for this area of the country to be moving things forward. And I'm really pleased to be participating with you at this level. Right now, I'm just going to be sharing my screen with you. So just give me one quick moment, and then we will be getting started. Maybe. All right, let's get going. There we go. So yes, so I am here to talk to you guys today about something I'm so passionate about, and it is portfolio management. And I went on the journey in my career like many of you have, and I started off in IT, actually being a developer, a big nerdy developer, and I'm like, oh, so boring. Like I was the worst developer in the world, and lucky I didn't lose my job. And then lo and behold, I became a project manager. And when I moved into that role, I didn't realize it was the right role for me until about 5 years in. And it was that when I started to really evolve into the various areas of which project management take you. So over the past many years, as was already shared with you on my profile, is I have been doing portfolio management. I've also been doing a lot of management consulting. I own my own company. I've got a team of about 82 people right now. And I'm really excited about the journey that not only project management has taken me on, but PMI has taken me on. And you'll notice that when I'm talking to you guys today about portfolio management, it's really interesting how your chapter is set up with portfolio designations as well. And in fact, you were saying goodbye and welcome to a number of those portfolio leaders. And so when we look at portfolio management, there's a lot of different ways to approach it. And this evening, I'm going to try to share with you as much as possible with the hour that I have. How do I want to engage with you guys? I'll tell you. This is not always easy to be remote because I usually run across the stage and I get you all jazzed up, but there'll be no running today because I might hurt myself. And so in order for us to make sure that we're engaged and we're having a good time, I just ask that you put your questions out into the chat room so we can pause for a moment and have a good conversation. The reason I want to pause in the moment, have that conversation, get the chattering going is for a couple of reasons. The main one is portfolio management is very complex. And if you've never touched on portfolio management, and you've always lived in the discipline of project management, the complexity goes like this. It's very extensive. So I'm more than happy for us to take those pauses and have a good conversation. In order for us to get started, I thought it very important for us to talk about program definition, making sure that we understand what a program is, what a portfolio is, and what we're going to build tonight. So for a program, it's really putting a lot of different projects together, building out the same outcome for the organization. And so when you think about it that way, you look at the different programs that you have in organizations that sometimes get confused with project management. So if you work for a municipality, they have a lot of programs for the citizens. Well, what we're talking about building projects, making these projects happen, and getting benefit for the entire organization. The next definition that I want to talk to you about is portfolio definition. Now, with a portfolio definition, it can happen in a lot of different ways. And what really is exciting and frustrating all at the same time is every organization I've ever gone into to do portfolio management for, and that's been for portfolio management, that's 12 different organizations and 7 different industries. And every single one of them described what they ran as portfolio differently. So I really wanted us to make sure that we're zoning in on what I mean by portfolio today. And that means that really you're trying to move the organization forward through their capital dollars. And within that, what we're going to be doing is we might have a couple of portfolios underneath my portfolio. We might have programs underneath my portfolio, or we might have individual projects. And so that's what makes everything so complex about portfolios. What I would like us to do is figure out a way for us to make this a fun discussion. So I decided, hey, I've got just the case study for you. What is it? Well, it just so happened that I worked on the Olympic bid in Canada. And I thought to myself, what better story and conversation to have with a bunch of brilliant people like yourselves other than to talk about the Olympics. So that's exactly the portfolio roadmap that we're going to build today, is how we would run the Olympics. It's both exciting and an inspiring experience. I do have a video that I would normally share with you, but we were having some technology difficulties in order for it to stream properly. So I'm going to leave this video behind, and if you come back and use my presentation, you can check it out. But it's mostly about us Canadians loving the wintertime. I don't know what else to tell you. We're crazy. All right, let's move right along. So what I'm showing you right now is what we're going to build today. If we look at it from the top-down perspective, and by the way, all portfolios should be built top-down. If you're building them bottom-up, it's like the tail is wagging the dog. It doesn't work well for organizations. It increases your risk. It usually increases your finances every single time. And in my opinion, I've never seen it done successfully. There's been times where I've been able to build it medium level, kind of in the program level up to portfolio, but even then you're just trying to piecemeal everything together. So what do? We start at the top. We build a mandate. What that mandate is there to do is it's there to provide focus and vision for what this portfolio of work is going to deliver. The whole reason to do a mandate is like what we do for organizations when we're building a vision. The vision is so that the entire organization comes together so we all go down the same path, right? So if we look at the vision for PMI, they're all customer-centric right now. So they're saying anything and everything that we can do to improve the customer experience, the individual experience, that's what we're going to do. No different with this portfolio mandate. Tonight, we're going to build a portfolio mandate for the Olympics. All right. The next part is making sure that we have goals and that those goals are clear and understood and directly align with the corporate goals. They don't have to be the corporate goals. There has to be an alignment with those goals. And if that isn't happening, you will ultimately fail, because it's the senior leadership that actually give you the capital dollars to run a portfolio. It's much different than when you're running a project. You have a sponsor that will give you money. You have your PMO that will give you money. You have your portfolio that will give you money. But usually when you're the leader of the portfolio, you're getting all of your money from the CFO, the CIO, the COO. We get it. The next part, after we identify what our goals are, we need to create action. And those actions are what I like to call portfolio work streams. You can also consider them as programs. And in fact, a lot of people would consider them programs. And why, Laurel, are you trying to change the language on us? I'm just seeing if you're listening. Are you listening? No, the reason why I do it is because they're not always a program in nature. Sometimes it's just straight operational work that's going to help the portfolio. And so if we said it was always going to be a program, people would get confused by that. And so I always like to make sure that I'm trying to really use the full term of what program means and what portfolio means in order to achieve the outcomes. And then the very last stream of information that we build within this roadmap is the true technicality of everything. That's where we have the rubber hit the road. That's where the projects are at. That's where the true programs are at. Everything that lines up to that work stream. And that work stream is the benefit that hits those goals. And those goals are what's going to create your mandate. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. But don't worry, we're not stopping here. We'll be walking through this in a much slower fashion in just 2 seconds. Before we move on though, I would like to check and see if there's anything going on in the chat for any questions that you want to stop and pause on. All right, then let's continue. It's really important for us to pay attention. Sorry, I just need to adjust my screen ever so slightly for you all. There we go. It's really important for us to look at what's going on in the goal and understand why we're building the goal. So we want to create alignment to the strategic drivers of the organization. I said that earlier. Okay, check. We want to make sure that we're creating a case for change. So in other words, why do we use capital dollars if we're not going to make changes for the organization, for the betterment and the move forward of the organization? So we have to create that change outcome focus. The next part is we have to absolutely make sure it ties back with value. We have to be able to make it definable and measurable. Show it, prove it, live it. And then the second we can do it, that's when our CEO, our CFO, our COO all get the same story. And then lastly, we have to create commitment. So the second you start to create goals, you are creating alignment with your senior leadership team, because those are the ones that are actually defining these goals for you. I'm not defining any of these goals. I'm actually working with the senior leadership, asking the questions and making all of those things happen. So how do I do that? That's what we're going to achieve here now. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the mandate, and then I'm going to walk us through what actually happens in a workshop, what that workshop looks like, what kind of behaviors you as the sponsor or you as the facilitator should be creating, that sort of thing. Sound good? Okay. I'll always pause at the end of a screen in case there's any questions. So I'm pausing right before I move into the mandate.
Yeah, sorry.
Do we have a question? I just can't
Yes.
see the chat while I'm talking.
Oh, okay, good. I thought you were checking it. So we have some questions here. One from Samit: can we equate portfolio roadmap to product roadmap?
Ah, excellent question. So, so I might get in some trouble here with people that really love the product roadmap. The portfolio roadmap is built from the strategy of the organization from a top-down perspective, and the product roadmap is usually built at the business unit level. They're looking at what their needs are in order to increase their opportunities for their specific area. It doesn't usually go corporate wide. And that's really the difference. There's people that will tell you that there is product lines that do that. But on average, and that's where I'm going to go to, on average, that would be the difference.
Thank you, Laura. Do we
No
have
problem.
time for another question?
Yeah, let's do one more
Laura.
question before we move on to mandate.
Okay, this is from Mark. Regarding change, do you find pushback from folks who have been at a company for a long time? Why fix something that isn't broken?
Yes. So the change component of everything is like that. I would say it's most severe in the portfolio realm, because what you're doing when you're starting to build portfolios and portfolio roadmaps is you're actually maturing the business capability of the organization on how they deliver projects. So it might feel more bureaucratic because now you have, you know, this portfolio, and then it goes to these work streams, and then it goes, you know, to these programs, and then finally it's me and my project. Finally, I get my attention that I need. And people think that's bureaucracy. And for me, I think that's effectiveness. I think that we're all marching to the same key, to the same steps for the same organization with the same intention to move it forward. And so those people that do not feel comfortable with that change, that's where we have to sit a little bit longer to have those real conversation. Again, back to the value. What are we going to drive for value for the organization? And it really is that voice. Okay, let's move on to the mandate. I already shared with you the mandate, that it's really that vision. The other thing that the mandate provides you, it provides you a very clear elevator pitch. And that elevator pitch, it's okay for you as the portfolio owner or portfolio manager. Who it's really important for is the portfolio owner, because they're not in it every day, and they need to be able to articulate it to whoever will listen, because you're the one spending millions and millions of dollars for the organization, and they need to figure out how to defend it in a moment's notice. And that's what that mandate does. It also, again, creates the alignment within the leadership team that have oversight to the portfolio. So just like the goals, we don't create the mandate as the portfolio managers. We have senior leadership create the mandate. We facilitate what they're thinking, because heaven forbid an executive write anything on a sticky note and put it on a wall. I mean, that's absolutely absurd. They're far too busy for that, aren't they? Oh my gosh. Anyways, but that's what we do. We're there to facilitate their thinking, move them along on that journey. But at the end of the day, we are creating the story for them to defend, and then to determine that, yes, this is what my mandate is for this group, and we all believe in it. And then lastly, the mandate always has to tie back to the strategies of the organization. And you're going to hear that from me for the rest of the hour. All right, so how do we build a really great workshop? And the reason that I'm putting this out there to you is that at times we tend to invite too many people, or we don't invite enough people, or other people get invited when we weren't even asking them to be on the list. And I really request a very strict audience when I'm building my goals and mandate workshops, because we need the senior leaders looking at it and thinking about it. So we look at a steering committee of what would be typically the portfolio view. So you're talking senior VPs or C-level organizations. You're not usually looking at directors, managers, that sort of thing. As I mentioned before, we pull out all of the key messages. We create brainstorming opportunities, but we never give them sticky notes, because they're far too important for that. Oh my gosh. All right, check it off the list. And then finally, what we do is we pull all of them together, and we acknowledge that we might have 5 goals today, and in 2 months, those goals might go to 4, or the wording might change of those goals. But what should probably never change, or change very little, is the mandate. The mandate should stay very consistent, unless something like, oh, I don't know, a pandemic shows up. And then guess what? Yeah, your mandate's going to change, and it's going to change in a heartbeat. All right? Any questions here before we move on to the activity? Great.
No questions right now.
Excellent. So we as a group, normally I would have breakout sessions, but we as our group are going to actually have an interactive conversation about how to build a goal. So instead of us running the workshop, I'm going to show you some examples of some goals that have been created for the Olympics. And then let's figure out what additional goal you think would be a good one to put forward. And then from looking at all our goals, we're going to create our mandate statement. So I don't know how well can you see this. It might be a little bit small, but can you see it okay? Can somebody share with me that they're seeing it okay?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So goal number one. Goal number one is that we are going to have a really great partnership with our key stakeholders that are paying the bills, which is for Canada, it's the municipal government, the provincial government, and then the federal government. So that was our number one goal. If we don't do that, we're not going to be successful in running these Olympics. Number two was that the assets that we build from these Olympics will generate long-term benefits for the community. Again, that makes really good sense. Where did we see those things not happen? Russia. We looked at what happened there, and we saw so many of the assets were no longer being used the very next year, and that the infrastructure was already dying off. So in Canada, we said, absolutely not. If we're going to spend the money now, we want to generate future opportunity, whether it's financial benefit or community engagement. Our last goal we identified was financial transparency. The International Olympic Committee has been really burdened by the onlookers of how funding has been spent over the last many decades. And I don't think anybody on this call would be surprised with that statement. So they made it very clear to us that if you are not going to be financially responsible, we're probably not going to be interested in you as a country in order to move forward. So that made it so easy for us to create that goal. It was in direct alignment with one of our key organizations, financial transparency. And so the last one is the goal that I want us to create. And I left it pretty open to some pretty good spots that, you know, might have to do with the athletes, the youth, the community at large, the citizens of Canada or the United States. Let's say that we're building it in the United States so that I don't confuse the country. So I would love to hear what questions you have, and then also hear what kind of goals you think would be great in this situation.
We have two questions.
Okay, great.
Do you apply SMART methodology when creating goals?
So I provide whatever the organization focuses on. So if I'm dealing with senior leadership and there are not they've not been introduced to SMART, I would say SMART is typically driven out more at the director level and VP level. Senior VPs and C-suite levels, they've heard of it, they don't actually care. It's like, use my words, make my words matter. Where I do use SMART is when I get into the next level down of the work streams, because then you're working with the people that you can actually have those kind of conversations with. So it does change slightly with those ideas in mind. And the next question.
Thank you. Here is another one from Darren. For goal 3, how can you determine that revenues are maximized? Is there going to be some kind of acceptance criteria later?
Yeah, great question. So it's always important to make sure that when you create goals that you're able to measure them. What we're not seeing here is the measurements that we created for each one of these. And we did, in fact, have measurements for each one of these. And so for the financial side of things, we had identified the different revenue streams and the below line and above line that would be acceptable for the revenues that we'd be bringing forward. And if we ever thought we were going to go below the line, we were going to shut it down immediately as an opportunity to move the Olympics forward. So you definitely have to have those measurements in there. It doesn't mean that the senior leadership are part of creating those measurements. It might be their subordinates that you'd be working with on that, but it's incredibly important. Great question.
Thank you. There is no more question.
All right. So let's talk about what that goal might look like. So if you're building the perfect Olympics, because I believe you guys all out there can do it, what would Seattle do? What is that one thing that your culture and your community would want to bring to the table in order for the Olympics to be successful for you guys?
Some ideas already coming in. Promote Canadian-based businesses, or have a successful games that highlight Canadian commitments to sustainability.
Oh my gosh, two fantastic goals. And in fact, both of those goals were highlighted for us. When you're looking at it, you need to look at what are we going to do for our community at large, both from helping the small business owner to the medium-sized business owner to the corporation across Canada. And then the other thing is sustainment. What kind of footprint are we putting into Seattle, to Canada, when we do something as large as this? And are we going to be the ones that do it the best? Absolutely. So that was significant to us. Great ones. Any other ones before we move on?
Yeah, there are like a lot of coming in.
Oh, all right.
Like sustain increased tourism, drug-free games environment, improve our transportation system.
Oh my gosh, these are all fantastic ones. So the transportation system one, that would have gone under goal number 2, generating long-term benefits for the community. And so that's why when we look at the goal, how can we do the measurement? The transportation would have been a measurement, if that makes sense. There was another one in there. Keep going, we'll keep going here.
Make sure the day-to-day community life is not affected with the preparation of Olympics.
Let's not the Olympics take over the world of Canada. Let's not let the Olympics take over the world of Seattle. We are still just citizens trying to do our job, trying to pay our bills, trying to be successful in our own world. It can't be all the Olympics all of the time without good reflection back into the into the community. Brilliant, brilliant stuff.
Here's a very good one. Olympics must involve sports for all genders to promote diversities.
All right. So we focused so much on who should be involved, who should we consider to be our key stakeholders. And I've got a picture at the very end. My governance model was absolutely bonkers because we needed to make sure everybody had the right engagement level. So we needed to engage our athletes that had potential of going to the Olympics. We needed to engage our younger generation to inspire them to want to go to the Olympics, to want to get away from their computer, to want to go out and do things and have heroes and have that energy and have that camaraderie of what a country can do when an Olympics is in front of them. We also looked at the individual senior who sat at home and all they did was look at a TV and they wanted to be able to live through that TV to see what was going on. So we looked at those individual people. We looked at the indigenous body because they are so important into our earth and how we show up as a community at large. So we had diversification all over the map. The question was, were we building good work streams in order to make that happen? Great. So let's use that one as our goal number 4. So then we can start to talk about what would go into that work stream. Sound good? All right. Any questions before we move on? So our goal will be, I don't remember the exact words, but it's to allow everybody to be inspired by sports, everybody to be able to play sports, that it's an open opportunity for us to come together as a community, not just in Canada, but around the world. And what a time like now, wouldn't that be great? We're now going to move into what we call the work streams. And so the whole purpose of a work stream is, how do we create it so that we can make it executable? And so often you'll find in organizations that you'll have numerous portfolio managers, right? So you've got a portfolio manager that takes care of IT, you got a portfolio manager that takes care of all the finance work, you have a portfolio manager that takes care of all the operational challenges. And so this isn't much different than that, where we're going to break you out into different work streams, different little portfolios, in order to make sure we achieve what we need to achieve. It's really important to make sure that in those streams of work that you're actually putting like-minded pieces of work that are going to create the same benefits, as well as making sure that you have kind of similar stakeholders falling out of those, so the stakeholders aren't getting scattered across the groupings where they're not even able to keep up with anything. You can't always have all of the same stakeholders in one stream of work. Let's be clear. There's going to be overlap, but to do it to the best of your ability, it can be achieved. So what else is important about a work stream is that there's really that really is the most important thing is each work stream should only have one steering committee, right? So you might have like 10 projects in there and maybe a couple programs, let's throw them in there, but it should only be one steering committee that has overarching view of all the work that's going below it. And that's what is going to make the real benefit and value add and good stakeholder involvement and removal of burnout. That's what's going to allow for that. Make sense? All right. So whenever I say make sense, I just assume everybody's nodding, going, oh my gosh, this is so engaging. I love this, Laurel. Because, you know, I'm really just talking to myself right now. Okay, so let's look at this with a different picture from the original picture that I had for you. So we have our portfolio goals, and we have, oh, we didn't make a mandate. Usually we make that after the goals. Let's assume that we have our mandate right now, just because we're running out of time in order to deliver out all of our conversation. I'll say the mandate is to deliver an inspiring Olympics that is fiducially responsible and allows for all citizens to be fully engaged in a matter that creates for future opportunity. Whew, that was a long, painful one. Let's never do a mandate that long again. Yuck. Okay, so we're moving into the portfolio work streams. As you can see, sometimes it can just be activities that are going on that are kind of just strung together, that maybe it just needs to happen. We'll have projects in there, and we'll have programs. I'm going to actually start us off with showing us. I'm going to come back. I'm just going to show us what that looks like, because sometimes this area gets a little bit confusing, and it shouldn't be confusing once you kind of see these examples. So, for example, the finance work stream, we've got the Olympic game budget, we've got the funding model as two projects that are within this area. If we're looking at the stakeholder work, I'm going to jump over one. This was very, very complex, as I told you guys before, and so we had a program within there that was called Government and Indigenous Relationships, and then we had another program that was for sport and athletes. Then we had a project that was called Community Engagement, and we had a project that was called IOC and COC. So IOC is the International Olympic Committee, and COC is the Canadian Olympic Committee relations, and making sure that all of the different things that are going on in all the areas was coming through this good stakeholder work. So this one had a lot of different little threads in it. The next one, the next two were very, very complicated from just a logistical perspective. When you look at the venues that you have to build in order to run an Olympics, each one of those were programs. There was not one of those that was an individual project. So we're looking at 2, 4, 6, 8 programs just underneath the venue delivery work stream. It was significant, and that's where most of our dollars were spent. I'm not going to lie to you. The next dollars that was spent the most, without question, was security, but it was a very far more focused area. We knew exactly where that money was going and why it was going there. And so, although it was important, it didn't have the same complexities as the venues did. So now I'm going to slide us back to how do we run a workshop like this? But before I do, let's pause. Any questions on the work stream side of things?
No new questions.
All right, I like it. Okay, so when we look at the agenda for running a work stream, I want us to focus on the audience. Remember, before we had those VPs, now we're looking at project leaders, managers, and directors that would be involved in the delivery and sustainment of whatever it is we're going to deliver. Those are the people that should be involved in these conversations. The approach is bring forward the mandate and the goals. And one would hope that those mandates and goals would have already been socialized with the senior leadership team, because the portfolio manager would have said, senior leadership, now that you've got this, let's create a campaign to tell our story. And once we do that, then all of these project leaders and managers and directors are like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. When are you going to invite me to that meeting? Because that happens all the time, right? Nobody ever has meetings. We don't have to struggle for people's schedules. Life is so easy being project leaders like we are. It's no problem at all. This is where we get to do the sticky notes, because everybody in this room values putting their own words to paper and putting it up there and seeing how they compare to everyone else's. This is where we can actually move the stickies around, see where we get the synergies, and then start to build out the work streams just as the sticky notes are coming up, because you're immediately noticing the stakeholder alignments, the benefit alignments, all of those different kinds of things. That is what we would get out of this. So any questions before I move on?
Yes, there is one. Is it typical for portfolio departments to oversee non-project based work, or is this strictly for planning?
Could you ask I missed you just cut out for a second at the very beginning of the question, sorry.
Is it typical for portfolio departments to oversee non-project based work, or is this strictly for planning?
Yeah, great question. So there are some non-project-based activities that go on within a portfolio. Those are typically activities like financial reporting, benefits tracking. I'm missing one. And portfolio prioritization. So those are typically the 3 operational areas that you find in a portfolio. Outside of that, it's like, hey, let's go deliver some really fantastic stuff for some really fantastic people in this organization. Any other questions?
No more so far. Thank you.
That was I've never had that question asked. You guys, I like it. I like it. Keep me on my toes. Keep me on my toes. That's what my husband says. He's like, Laurel, the only way is to keep you on your toes because you're so annoying otherwise. Okay. Activity 2. We're going to build a stream of work. Now, it's really important for you guys to remember that when you are building that stream of work, that you know why you're doing it. So we look at our goals, and then we look at the streams of work that we've identified. And is it so that we can achieve those goals? And that's what we need to map back to at the very end is, are we doing it for a reason that will actually achieve our goals? And that is why we can't do it from the bottom up, and we need to do it from the top down. Okay, so when we look back at the goals that we had identified, so so of the 3 goals that I have in there, I have pretty much put in a lot of what we would do in order to achieve goals 1, 2, and 3. There are a few, you know, other work streams that could go into this. However, let's focus on what we were talking about, looking out to the global need of inspiring the athletes and making this something that is inclusive to all and allowing youth to grow and mature and want to participate in sports. Let's look at that for a little bit. What type of works? Everybody would be like, well, doesn't that sit in stakeholders? Well, the stakeholder work stream was completely focused on how do we engage the major stakeholder groups that we have, not how are we going to inspire them and move this out to the organization. So one example of a work stream would probably be marketing. So we would have to build a lot of campaigns, both from a Canadian athlete perspective, as well as a global athlete perspective as to why Canada, why now, and why I want to be involved. Then we'd want to look at it from a marketing campaign for the youth. How are we inspiring the youth to want to make a difference, to want to step up, to want to get out from behind their computers? That takes athletic involvement, that takes encouragement, that takes starting at the schools and the universities to get all of that movement going. So those are the types of projects and programs that we would be building out within the marketing stream. I use that as an example, but I'm sure you guys have other ones, especially if we use the goal of the green footprint that this would provide. What kind of work stream would that maybe look like? Thoughts? I'm definitely not going to talk again until I hear one great idea.
There is one comment. What about media work stream like video or photo?
Yeah, so video is are we talking about so the video that would go under the marketing stream without question, right? Like, so that's a really important, how are we going to be reaching out to them? What's that going to look like? And we have to be way more creative than we've ever been in the past, because social media is such a different beast now than it's ever been before. So it's a very significant impact on what that would look like.
Okay, here's an idea. So for the work stream, sustainability work stream.
Perfect. We absolutely had a sustainability work stream. So what's interesting is you'll notice under the venue delivery, there was future sustainability, and we ended up moving that over into a different work stream called sustainability. And under that, so we moved it over, and you'll have those experiences where you start something in one work stream and you realize, you know what? You're going to get better benefit and better stakeholder engagement if it's over in this group over here, because that's really where, remember, we've got that overarching steerco. It makes more sense over there. So we built this sustainability section. We talked about what does green look like. We talked about what are we going to do to educate people on sustainability, because it's not just being about sustainable. It's about creating programs that people can connect with and want to make change and want to do different things. We had like the actual event programs of how can we make those sustainable and different than what we've ever done before, but interactive and engaging. So great example. Okay. Any other ones before we move on?
Yes, there are some more. Broadcasting work stream.
Yeah, so broadcasting, we actually had broadcasting under the marketing, because broadcasting was a very serious stakeholder, but we needed them under marketing because they were going to be one of our medias in order to get our story told. And so we had to keep them under that marketing umbrella, but they definitely jumped around. They jumped around into the vision and benefits. They jumped around into the stakeholders. And mostly because it's such a dynamic audience from places all over the world. Any other ones before we move on?
There is one more here. Community involvement as the athlete villages will become affordable housing.
Yes. So if you look under affordable housing, so if you look under the venues delivery area, we had affordable housing and we had athletes, and we kept all of that in there. And then the way that we made sure that we were connecting with it is that we put it over to the marketing area of, okay, are we connecting with the athletes in an effective manner? And then we put it over to the stakeholder work group. Are we connecting with the athletes in a effective manner? And so that one, again, as you can see, there's always going to be threads across all of these interdependencies that matter. And so creating these conversations and having the interdependencies understood at this level is critical to your success. Great. So let's move on to what this, oh no, there we go. There we go. So this is an example of if this were completed at the end. So we're looking at the Olympic mandate. Remember my long, painful, awkward one that I don't even remember because it didn't connect. Here's a very succinct one that was very similar to the one that we used. Provide a world stage experience for athletes with a sustainable infrastructure to inspire the future of Canadian sports. And if we look at the 4 goals that we had, we can map each of those goals to that mandate. The last goal that we had put in for the example when we were building this one was being a global leader in sport, business, and safety. So you can see how all of those alignment, we actually bucketed a lot more things into that goal just to create that connection. So now if we look down and we see, okay, well, what are the other work streams that we included here? And by the way, I did not include all of the work streams just because it would have been a bit too crazy. I had 12 work streams and I had 46 project managers on it. And so you can only imagine, 12 people were reporting into me and there was 46 project managers below that. It was interesting and like crazy fun. There's no two ways about it. But we have technology as a work stream. So we had information technology under the venue delivery because we had to create foundational work for each venue that we built. We needed to make sure that there was information technology in the appropriate areas for the snow venues, the ice venues, on and on and on. The technology stream was something different. The technology stream would have gone in with that broadcasting conversation of how are we going to be able to tell this story? So technology and marketing were almost like, I had one stream manager running both of those because I'm pointing at my screen. I love it. I'm pointing at my screen. You guys have no idea what I'm talking about. The technology and marketing, I had the same portfolio manager running both of those because they were so interchangeable, because marketing is so much about how do we get out to our audience, who is our audience, and why are we doing it. And the technology, about 50% of the technology was around creating, helping lift up marketing. But the rest of it was, what are we going to do that's sexy and fun? I mean, the Olympics are sexy and fun, but what are we going to do for those technology people that get really jonesed by all of that exciting stuff? And then that was that work stream, as well as, let's not forget about that footprint. Any questions from what you're seeing here?
There is no new question.
All right. Well, let's move to the hardest part of the entire Olympics. I'll tell you what, this is how I was asked to be on the Olympics. The phone rang. I answer the phone. I'm like, yep, And they're like, oh, hey, Laurel, I haven't talked to you in a really long time. We know that you're one of our top portfolio girls, and we also think that you've done a lot of work for this client in the past. Are you interested in helping us out? And I'm like, pretty busy right now, but what's the opportunity? And they're like, the Olympics. And whoa. Before I did that, though, before I asked about the Olympics, I should have said, why are you trying to butter me up? This probably means what? It means bad things. Every single one of you on the other end of this screen has been buttered up from a time or two to come in and firefight. And that, without question, is what I was coming in to do. And the reason it was such a firefight is because of all of the different stakeholder groups, key stakeholder groups. I'll repeat, key stakeholder groups. We've got the Canadian Olympic Committee that feels like they should be in charge of anything to do with the Canadian Olympics. Makes sense. They're part of the Olympics for Canada. Okay. We had the federal government that said, hey, we're putting in the biggest amount of money. We should be the ones in charge of everything. And then I'm like, well, actually, they're signing the check, so they're probably right. And then we had the International Olympic Committee says, whoa, we make the decision on if you show up or not, so we are in charge of everything. And I'm like, whoa, you are definitely the ones that should be in charge of this for sure. And then I had the city executive leaders who said, we hired you, Laurel, don't forget that, we should be the ones in charge. And I'm like, how do I even start to draw this out now? Now things are getting really messy. And then we had the provincial government that said, you know what, the city guys, they don't do a lot. The federal guys never show up. The ones that really contribute is the province. And in any organization or in any governmental body, it is usually that middle group that kind of holds all the pieces together between the big guys and the little guys. So I appreciated that. Then we had the athletes, and they said, there wouldn't be an Olympics without us. So how are we not way up here on the list of priorities? And for me, when I signed on, I thought the athlete and I thought the community were the two highest stakeholders, right? Like that's why I was so jazzed about this. I thought the idea of inspiring the youth and being part of like sports was just brilliant. I thought, wow, like, this is so exciting. I was mistaken. Yeah, it doesn't really work out that way. Then you've got your Olympic Advisory Committee. And so that was built up of all of these CEOs of these really big companies that were paying really big sponsorship dollars in order to be a part of this. Well, so they're pretty important. You don't want to piss them off. Where do they fit in all of these circles right now? Then you have the Indigenous body that represents the connection to the community and the need for something bigger outside of the Olympics and what this will do for a community. So between the Indigenous body and the community, I thought, oh my gosh, they're it. It should begin and end with them and the athletes. But it never happened that way. And so I had so many different committees. I had so many different governance models. And does anybody know how quickly I got my governance signed off in a year and a half? It never got signed off. Let's see, how many times did I have all of my key stakeholders, at least one person from all of my key stakeholder groups in the same room? That never happened once. What else is exciting about this little story? How many times did I have all of the government bodies in the same room having the same conversation? That never happened once. You get the theme here? Yeah. It was probably not the most complex portfolio I've ever ran, but it was the most politically driven experience that I've ever had in my life. And I didn't know how to work through it. I had all of these different people that were there as advisors to, you know, for all the communications and all the work with all of these different groups, and the amount of red tape in order for me to get something put out for communication, it was impossible. So why is that? So why were we unsuccessful here? Because there was no one body that said the buck stops here. I will live by the decision, I will own the decision, and let's drive it forward. Canada's had the Olympics 4 times. Oh my gosh, that's bad. Don't tell anybody I don't remember that. Okay, but we've had the Olympics a few times. And every single time, once was in Calgary. So if I use the Calgary and the Vancouver Olympics and why they were successful is they had these really strong voices, and they were both at the provincial level. So they had these really strong voices saying, I own this, and I know that our country can build this. Wow. If any one of those people in this group here outside of the International Olympic Committee came forward and said, I believe in this, I own this, I can make this happen, we probably would have been okay. But we weren't. We ended up closing it down because there was too many conflicting demands and desires that were coming from not all of the circles, but let's say about half of the circles. Any questions on stakeholder groups?
There is one which is, I guess, a statement, but can be a question. So is this different from the project management life cycle, how you do the planning? Because in project management, so you identify stakeholders first.
Yeah, so it is a little bit different. So when you're building out a portfolio, your stakeholder groups, sorry, not your stakeholder group. When you're building out your portfolio, your steering committee group's already been defined. Okay, so that is usually on the CFO side or the CIO side or the CEO side. Typically, it kind of falls in those areas, not very often in the COO side. And so they are your senior leadership that creates your steering committee. Your stakeholder groups get defined right after you start to build out what your goals are, because you don't know who your key stakeholders are until you know why you're doing something. And so it's a little bit different for a project, because a project, you actually already kind of know what your intentions are. You've been given a business case, and that business case is defined some things out for you. But at the portfolio level, we're trying to figure out what is it that we're trying to accomplish. And then once we know that, we go out to our stakeholders. We're like, we're trying to accomplish this. We think you should be a part of it. Are you ready? Any other questions there?
Who was your sponsor on sponsors?
Yeah, who is my sponsor of sponsors for this? Is that what the question?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that again was the problem. We actually had we never officially had a true sponsor. We had people that played the role of a sponsor, but if you'll recall, we never had the governance signed off. And in fact, the sponsor hat was sitting within the city executives, and that person changed 3 different times, or that role changed with 3 different people in a year and a half, because they kept trying to evolve what they were trying to accomplish. Again, there was no clear, like, who's going to drive it home for us, who believes in this and wants to make it happen. Yeah. Any other questions before I finish off?
There is one more question.
Yeah.
Stakeholder management is so important. Would RACI be helpful? I don't know if I pronounce it correctly.
Oh, the RACIs?
Yes, RACI.
So RACI is only good if you're allowing everybody to come to the table and have a conversation. One of the greatest challenges that we had here was that that the federal government couldn't talk to the provincial government at the same time, because they were 2 different, they were like, liberal and, sorry, you guys are Democratic and Republican. So they were two different groups. So they didn't really even want to talk to each other, right? Eek, ah. So you couldn't have a meeting with them in the room. So how on earth are you going to say, hey, as a group, we feel federal government, this is your role and responsibility, and provincial government, this is yours, and city, this is yours, when they're not interested in all being in the same room together at the same time? It was, and because you didn't have that one person that said, if you guys don't do this, we'll do it on our own, because we didn't have that voice, we weren't able to build that out. You can't build a RACI chart and then, you know, send it off. And this, and whether it's the Olympics or your project or your program or your portfolio, you can't build a RACI chart and flip it over to people and say, hey, this is how we're going to do things. Sound good? Talk to you later. You have to build it together. It has to be collaborative, and everybody has to agree. They don't have to like it, but they do have to agree and commit to it. Okay, and if you're doing it in isolation, you might as well just put it on the dusty old shelf as something else that project managers build and nobody looks at, because there's too many of those documents that exist in the world already. Any other questions?
Who finally made the call that you weren't going to be successful?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Who finally made the call? We actually ended up doing a referendum in the city of Calgary, because that's where it was going to be held. So the city said, you know what, we're feeling like we're on the hook for all of this because we're not getting good support from our provincial government, and we're not getting good support for our federal government. And so that's kind of where that laissez-faire sponsor was kind of sitting, was in the municipality. And so they did a referendum with the citizens of Calgary. It came back 49 yes and 51 votes no, 51% votes no. And they still could have moved forward, because it's, you know, there's a certain percentage level where you can still move forward even if your referendum is, you know, off kilter slightly. But they said we can't do it. We're not seeing the buy-in from everywhere else, and that's what stopped them from moving forward. And it was yeah, it was a bittersweet day. Yeah, it was a bittersweet day.
I think this will be the last question, if
Okay.
we still have time. Which Olympic bid did you work on?
Yeah, I worked on the Olympics 2026. So this was 3 years ago now that I was working on that. Yeah. And that was for the Winter Olympics of 2026. Great. So I just want to tell you guys, thank you so much for allowing me to come and speak. I'm really excited and proud of you guys for being one of the top 10 chapters. There's over 300 chapters in the world, and the reason I know that is I'm part of an executive council within PMI globally, and so I'm actively involved in what are we doing locally and globally. And so I'm really proud that you guys are sitting 10. That is like absolutely outstanding. Congratulations to you all. Thank you so much for having me. And if you ever want to reach out to me to have portfolio conversations, well, it's clear that I'm a little bit crazy, but I'm always up for a conversation. You can reach me on LinkedIn. I do use Twitter, but I'm so inconsistent that I'm probably a Twitter breaker. And but here's also my email address. Thank you guys so much, and do take care.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes Laurel's presentation.